Good morning, guys. Good morning. Once again, welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. I am going to be sharing with you the clips of President Cyril Ramaphosa on the Billa Act, as well as that of Helen Zille. And you see that even Helen Zille wants to claim glory while the president is claiming glory. The DA also is like, no, what, not easy like that. So now, I would like us firstly to watch the president, what he said about the Billa Act and Siviwe Gwarube and how the Billa Act is going to accommodate everyone, how the Billa Act is good for every citizen of this country.
My fellow South Africans, on the 13th of September this year, I signed into law the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, now known as the Billa Act. This act is vital to the transformation of the education system in our country. The act is an important part of ongoing efforts to build an education system that is more effective and more equitable in line with the precepts of our Constitution. The Billa Act continues the work that has been done over the last 30 years to ensure that all children have an equal access to quality education from their early years and throughout their schooling. As a democratic country committed to building a new society, we have stated unequivocally that all children must get an education that prepares them to succeed in life, no matter what the circumstances of their birth might be, no matter where they live, no matter what language they speak. In implementing this Billa Act, we are ultimately guided by the Constitution of South Africa. The Bill of Rights guarantees the right of every person to equality. It also guarantees the right of every person to receive a basic education. Importantly, the Constitution says that every person has the right to receive education in the official language or languages of their choice, where reasonably practicable. This is a right that applies equally to an English speaker as it does to a Zulu speaker. It also applies equally to someone who speaks Afrikaans as it does to someone who speaks Xitsonga, Sesotho, Sepedi, isiXhosa, Setswana, Luvenda, isiNdebele, or isiSwati. And now, it also applies equally to someone who uses the South African Sign Language. The Basic Education Laws Amendment Act enacts measures that strengthen the ability of our schools to give effect to these constitutional rights. In the application of this law, we must ensure that no language is diminished. Rather, we must work to ensure that all official languages are valued and promoted. At the time that I assented to the Billa Bill, I noted that a number of parties to the Government of National Unity and other key role players in our country had expressed their wish to further engage each other on sections of the bill that deal with issues of admission and language. I said that whilst I had assented to the bill, in the spirit of cooperation and meaningful engagement, I would delay the implementation date of the Billa Act in totality by 3 months. This would give the parties time to deliberate on these issues and make proposals on how the divergent views they hold might be accommodated. I also said, should the parties not agree on any approach at the end of the 3-month period, I would then direct the Minister and the Department to proceed with the implementation of the Act. Over the last 3 months, discussions have been held with a view of reaching consensus on these outstanding clauses of the Billa Act. Various formations outside of government have also made representations, both for and against the relevant sections. Last week, I received a report from the Government of National Unity Clearinghouse Mechanism. This is the structure which brings together the parties to the Government of National Unity and other parties represented in Parliament to deal with contentious issues and thereafter reports to the leaders of the political parties that are represented in the Government of National Unity and also some in the Parliament. In their final report, the parties agreed that the Basic Education Law Amendments Act, Billa Act, should not be sent back to Parliament to make changes to the sections that were in contention. The Government of National Unity Clearinghouse participants agreed that the Act should be fully implemented. This view was endorsed by the leaders of the parties to the GNU in a meeting I held with them today. I accordingly advised them that I would proceed to sign a presidential proclamation to bring the Basic Education Law Amendment Act, the Billa Act, into operation from today. I have instructed the Minister of Basic Education to see to the full implementation of the Billa Act. I have also instructed the Minister to do what is necessary, as customary with any law, to ensure that the time frame of implementation, particularly with regard to the preparedness of the system for universal grade R access, and the consequential regulations setting out the norms and standards are prepared. All bodies and officials responsible for the implementation of this Act are required at all times to act in accordance with the Constitution of our country, the law, and the relevant policies and regulations. We must therefore do everything in our means to ensure that every child, without exception, has equal access to a decent, quality education. We must therefore leave no child behind. Let us ensure that our children get the best education so that they can take our beautiful country and our diverse nation forward to a prosperous future. Murena, boloka setjhaba sa heso. Nkosi sikelela e-Afrika. God sien South Africa. God bless South Africa. Hosi katekisa Afrika zonka. Mudzimu batotshedze Africa chipembe. I thank you.
So the president says he has instructed the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe, to do what is necessary to ensure the implementation of the Billa Act. Now, if you remember very well, it is that Siviwe once boycotted the signing of the Billa Act. So the president there, I must say, the president looks more confident now, and he's clearing things, the perceptions that we had about him on the Billa Act. For instance, is dealing with the Minister of Basic Education that, you know what, even though you boycotted the signing of the Billa Act, I am instructing you, you have the responsibility to ensure that it gets implemented and what is necessary is done for this Billa Act to be implemented. That's one. He also speaks of the timeline that on such and such a date, this is what he did, and he gave it 3 months to make sure that all the parties involved come together to discuss, to make sure that there is harmony in this implementation. Finally, the signing for the implementation, whatever that was, but the implementation of the Billa Act happens. You see, and within these 3 months, there is the perception that we had that the president is weak, the president is controlled by the Democratic Alliance, because not everyone had that perception, but it was because of the narrative that now was being pushed on social media by other political parties, that the president is out of control of this whole thing. Now, he removes also the people like PANYAZA from taking glory that I have pushed the president. Because even though he is not saying it directly with his mouth, PANYAZA, he has been acting like he is the one that is pushing the president to sign the Billa Act. The Billa Act is the one that wants it more. The president, it gave, and even people were saying that PANYAZA is trying to compete with the president, or he wants to be the president and whatnot. So now the president is clearing all that out. One more other thing is that he looks more confident. Yeah, he looks more confident. He does look more confident. Where that comes from, I don't know. But the president more confident now. Calm, president. I see the change there. Now let us move and hear what Helen Zille said when she sounded like she's saying, you know what, we are in charge. You can say whatever you're saying, but we are the ones that are in charge of the implementation of the Billa Act as the Democratic Alliance. It depends on us.
That statement needs to be read carefully because there are two parts to it. One is that the Billa Act will be implemented in its entirety. The other part is that Siviwe, the Minister of Basic Education, first has to draw up norms, standards and regulations to govern the implementation of the contentious sections. That is Section 4, D, E and F, and Section 5A and C. So the President has signed the entire Act into law, and we're aware of that, and that was an agreement that came out of the clearinghouse mechanism and out of the task team that reports to the clearinghouse mechanism. But the important point is that Minister Siviwe gets to ensure that the norms, standards and regulations are there before those sections are implemented.
And I was in conversation with Sato a little earlier on, and I brought this point to them. And Nomusa was saying that for her, it's not a big deal because everything should be there in any case, and it doesn't mean that there will be some delays. Is that your understanding as well?
There will be some delays, obviously, because of the fact that it takes time to formulate norms and standards and regulations. It takes a lot of time. There's a legal process that you have to go through. It involves public participation. It involves a whole range of issues. So Siviwe Gwarube will go through the legal process properly, step by step, and will get those norm standards and regulations in place so that the contentious aspects of the bill can be implemented within that framework.
So did the clearinghouse agree on how much time this could take?
No, they didn't. Not at all. It normally takes about 18 months to finalize these norms and standards and regulations, following the process as it's intended to be followed in law.
So you had expressed some concerns, of course, about this particular bill, even, campaigning during the elections, but also afterwards, and in recent times as well, also speaking about the issue of Afrikaans, for example, and looking at the president's statement, he says that every person has the right to receive education in their official language and their language of their choice where reasonably practicable. And he then lists, of course, the number of languages. They have those concerns for you been addressed?
Well, PANSALB has existed for close on 30 years, and the question to ask is, what have they done in terms of their mandate to make mother tongue education accessible to more and more children? The Afrikaans community has done a lot to ensure mother tongue education for their children. The deaf community has done an enormous amount to ensure that sign language instruction can be given and that they can learn all their subjects through the medium of sign language so that it becomes a language of instruction. The question is, what has happened with the other languages? They've been totally neglected by PANSALB, and that is where the focus now needs to be.
So what does that mean then? Does it mean it's not over for the Democratic Alliance on this particular issue?
Well, nothing's ever over. I mean, we will continue to fight for democracy and for the Constitution forever. And the bottom line is that we agreed in the clearinghouse mechanism, in the task team that reported to the clearinghouse mechanism, we agreed that eventually the full Billa Act will be implemented when the norms, standards and regulations governing sections 4, D, E and F and 5A and C are in place. So that is the agreement. So
Helen, can I then maybe say, just tell me if I'm interpreting your position correctly here. You are saying we're backing you on condition that this process that needs to be done is done correctly. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
So what happens then? Let's say 18 months comes and the process is not complete and things aren't done. Has the clearing committee, the clearing house rather, did they discuss what does this mean then for this access that the president is talking about in his statement?
No, we did not discuss that in the clearinghouse because it's not up to the clearinghouse. It's up to Minister Gwarube to determine how long that takes to do it properly and according to the law.
But ultimately, it may not be up to the clearinghouse, but up to her. But these are political parties who hold different views on this particular matter. So if it does happen that she reaches that point and you're not happy, you are not going to be silent. So it means that we may find ourselves here again.
Well, we may certainly find ourselves here again on any specific day, but the president has seen fit to trust Siviwe Gwarube to put together those regulations, those norms and standards, and to make sure that she finishes them in a reasonable time frame. And we have a lot of confidence in Siviwe Gwarube to do that.
So according to me, the Helen Zille is trying to demonstrate that, look, we still have power. We are not defeated in this whole process of the Billa Act because we still hold the key into the implementation of the Billa Act, as it depends on our own minister, or rather the minister that comes from the Democratic Alliance, Siviwe Gwarube, to implement that Billa Act. So whatever your thoughts are on this, share in the comment section, because you know what, it came out, even if you look at the news, especially on social media, how people are reacting, you discover that the people look at it, who's winning, who's losing, and the Democratic Alliance is being put on the side that has lost the battle in the Billa Act. And Helen Zille is coming here to say, you know what, we haven't lost anything. It's not like we didn't win. We still hold the power that will see the implementation of the Billa Act. And also there's a question that Helen Zille asked when the journalist was asking her about the languages in schools. Sorry, as the president said, that the Billa Act accommodates every child, protects every right of every child to be taught in their own mother tongue. And Helen Zille is saying that has always been there in the Constitution. The question is, what has the ANC done with it for so long? Why have those languages been neglected? And also you must do understand that this happens in quote-unquote black schools. That's where the neglect is happening. So she even said the Afrikaner people have done a lot with their own language in schools, And even the deaf community has done a lot in their own schools. So with their own language rather, pardon me. So what have they done? What have they done? What has the ANC done? So valid question, because there are a lot of things that we're asking ourselves, that what has the ANC done over the 30 years? I was asking myself, what have they done with the 2/3 majority over so many years? And when you hear me say these things, you might think that I'm not grateful for the things that the ANC has done. But you know, the other stuff, there is just this huge mountain of the bad things, corruption and whatnot, just a lot of things that overshadow what is good that the ANC has done. Anyway, guys, as always, if you have any views on this, kindly share in the comment section. I'm looking forward to read this. Sometimes I might not be able to respond because the festive galoko, and also one gets caught up in other things, but I always read the comments. I read all of them. I might not respond to some because time constraints, but I do read all of them, the good ones and the bad ones. I read all of them. Do have a lovely day. And also, if you have a chance, kindly watch all my ads in full, and if you're on Wi-Fi, please kindly do so. Have a lovely day once again.